So 2024, like, what a year it's been. Because I turned 30 this year, which I felt like was a pretty big milestone for me personally. Um, and then uh, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. Like I met like some new friends in the beginning of the year that I like stopped hanging out with halfway through the year or so. Um, some of my travels weren't very great. Like almost every instance of me traveling this year was not the most fun, to be honest with you. Like there were definitely highlights of each of the times I went somewhere this year, but uh I don't know. I've had better experiences in the past. And yeah, I don't know. Like in February, middle of February this year, I went to this big Super Smash Brothers tournament called Genesis X or Genesis 10. Some people are calling it X for some reason. That was in San Jose, California, and I brought a friend with me, someone who is pretty good at the game in my state. Currently ranked, I think, number two, actually. But I brought him with me because I thought it would be fun that way. And like, ironically enough, some of my highlights from that trip ended up being around the people that I had nothing to do with Melee. There's a friend of mine that I got to meet. His name is Sens, and he's pretty damn cool. And I got to actually meet him in person for that tournament, and he was cool to talk with and you know roam around the venue and stuff with. I liked. I definitely think hanging out with him and also hanging out with the PR player that I brought with me was still pretty like nice. That was probably some of the better moments in the tournament, but I did like realize that I don't know. I wasn't really having fun with the game at the time. I mostly was going to try to like record people on my phone, people from North Carolina on my phone, and it was pretty disappointing because a lot of people didn't even do too well. Like all of our PR players basically got like I think like one upset, but I didn't really consider it that much of an upset. Everyone else like just kind of lost to people that were better than them, or they choked or something. Like it was kind of underwhelming. I was hoping it would be some sort of bigger, um, like showing from our state, like the previous major tournament that a lot of NC people went to was Big House 2023. That one was I was kind of hoping for something like that because our number one PR player, Zasa, she got such a ridiculously awesome tournament running. Was hoping for something like that at Genesis, but that did not happen. But I was glad I got to at least record the stuff that I wanted to, even if I don't know, some of the sets were hard to watch. So there's that. Then as far as actually playing the game, I that was kind of the start really of this year of me thinking like I just don't think I want to keep doing this much anymore. But because like that was the first time where I was thinking I don't want to do this once I turn 30. I want to stop competing. I want to stop doing stuff with Melee. But it was just like a thought in my head. I wasn't like 100% on actually doing it quite yet. So I wanted to at least try to get some coaching to maybe help me out in that area. So I actually went to Kirby Kaze, and he ended up helping me out pretty well over the 11 or so sessions I did with him. I definitely think it was pretty helpful. Like because he wasn't. I liked him as a coach, not just because he. What is it? I liked him as a coach because he wasn't trying to just make me like a good player. He was trying to make me reach my personal goals, my personal affiliations with the game become more of a reality. And I think that's kind of what every coach should strive to do, if I'm being honest. Because otherwise, like every other coach I've ever interacted with has always just had this notion of like, you got to do the best thing here because like you're trying to like win and all that stuff. And that might not be everyone's priority. Like maybe you want to improve, but like always playing the best possible way to win 100% of the time, I don't know. It just felt hollow, having to deal that with so many other coaches in the past. And the fact that KK could like not do that and just be like, yeah, no, if you just want to do some cool sick stuff, you can just do some cool sick stuff. You don't have to do all that extra stuff. So, as far as like being down to earth, that was a good experience. It's just unfortunate it didn't pan out for me, like staying with it, because I've been playing the game competitively for well over a decade, and I just decided I don't want to spend any more time than I already have on this thing. I have so many other things that I would rather do instead that I'll get into more later, but I wanted to just first kind of talk about the stuff that I'm like leaving behind this year, and starting my 30s anew with some different stuff. So yeah, Genesis was like, as far as a Melee experience, it was okay. It was not great. A lot of parts were not great. That I won't get into detail about, but there were some decent parts about it. But would I do it again? No, not at this point, especially now that I'm like basically retired. Like I don't really care about going to any major tournaments or anything anymore, because like the other tournament I went to this year was Tipped Off 15. That was in June, and that really kind of was like strike 2, I guess, or it was like hitting more nails in the coffin as far as like what I was trying to understand and what I wanted to do with the game, because like the feeling that I had at Tipped Off 14 was awesome in 2023, but Tipped Off 15 this year was just kind of confirmed more of the things that I just don't like about the game, and why going to bigger out-of-state tournaments is starting to be more, or was at the time starting to be more and more not worth it. Like my actual tournament experience at Tipped Off 15 was so not great. It wasn't super horrible, but I definitely was like pretty down and depressed about how I did for like the rest of the day once I was eliminated, which kind of really soured the mood, because not only was the rest of the day on Saturday pretty just numbing and depressive for me, but like Sunday morning I just left. I didn't even go back to the venue on Sunday. I drove all the way back to my place, because I just didn't want, that's how much I knew I didn't want to be there. And I still think that was the right call to do. So it sucks, because like that experience definitely was hoping for something better, especially compared to Genesis, but it just felt more of the same, really, even after all the like mental improvements and stuff that happened. And then like the last thing was, I don't know, I think just as I kept trying to enter locals in like October, and so I just was feeling less and less attached to the game and just everything involved. I kept getting burnt out on every little thing that I tried and trying to push myself and whatever. And I just reached like a breaking point at the beginning of November where I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna commit to the whole not doing Melee anymore once I hit 30 kind of thing. And I really committed to that by not only unlisting like a large majority of my Melee videos on YouTube, because a lot of them were pretty much junk anyway, and I only kept like the good ones that I'm like somewhat proud of or happy with. But I left every single Melee related Discord server too, because I think ultimately at the end of the day it was being pretty distracting. And I don't know, ever since I like stopped doing all the Melee stuff, I haven't really thought about it much or cared about it much. Like I haven't watched any tournaments, I haven't kept up with anything locally, or anything with even the Ganondorf players, like hardly any of that at all. So yeah, I don't know, I've kind of in a position, at least right now, where I don't really care about the game, and I don't know what I even really want to do if I were to come back, because that's a big if. That's a big if. I don't even know. Like it's there, because there's so many other things that I think I would rather do than try to compete in a tournament setting or in any kind of fighting game ever again, really, unless like it's purely for some sort of like fun objective or whatever. But like, yeah, I don't really care to go back to that stuff. And this year just kind of like proved it to me that like every attempt to try to make it work ended up kind of falling flat on its face. And there, believe me, like there were some moments that were good that I'll get into in a little bit. Like there was one good tournament that I had back in April that was out of state, and I actually had a good time with that one. So I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, so uh so that was like two of the trips at least. Another trip was visiting a friend in Oregon who I'm not really friends with anymore, unfortunately, because of personal reasons I won't get into. But it kind of sucked because like there were some things about the trip that I did like, and I didn't like. I don't really regret doing it. Like going to Oregon was still kind of cool. I wish it wasn't so hot. For one, like that was kind of ass. I don't know. I didn't really dislike going on the trip. It did cost me a lot. Like it taught me renting a car. We did use the car a lot, use the truck a whole lot, but it was a lot of added like stress on me, which I don't really think I want to do that again. Not to mention again how much that stupid thing costed me, but whatever. That was a pretty all right trip, I suppose. There were still a lot of things I wasn't like too privy about with it. So, and that was in the middle of July. So since returning from that trip, I haven't really traveled or like by plane to anywhere. And I've like had to think long and hard about what kind of traveling I want to do in the future, because it is a very big investment of time and money and the like. So I have to like be very, very conscientious of what I do as far as actually traveling to certain places to visit friends or to go to conventions or whatever. But like I know one thing's for certain: going to Melee tournaments or doing really anything with Melee at all is pretty much off the table, like entirely. Definitely for the next year. I mean, I don't know what I'll think at the end of next year, but we'll see as far as that goes. But yeah, as far as traveling goes this year, because those were kind of like some of the major points of doing things different from the norm. They weren't the greatest, unfortunately. So yeah, but I think those are kind of the only like sour spots as far as how I felt about the year. You know, I'm glad I've kind of put the whole Melee thing behind me, and it feels like it's the right thing. Like I don't feel like I'm still struggling to move past it or anything. So like it still kind of like, I don't know. It sucks that because I don't know if I felt like I wasted too much time on it or something, or like I don't feel like I wasted any of my time on the game. I just feel like, yeah, my time with it's just kind of done, and I just need to accept that and just stop trying to chase after something that doesn't work anymore. So yeah. But like it's a bit disappointing because I wanted to go places with Melee, but after not achieving them and after just constantly reaching mental hurdles I just couldn't get over, it's like, yeah, I better save myself the trouble and just do the thing that I'm actually a lot more interested in. So I'll go ahead and get into that now. Oh, love to visit some friends in North America yourself, if possible. Yeah, exactly. Time definitely can't be wasted. You got the right idea there. Like, I got so much time. Like, I got nothing but time. So, yeah. But anyway, so the more positive thing that I kind of want to talk about, and the thing that I've been like working on and looking forward to doing more of in the coming years, is if you know me and you've been interacting with me in really almost any capacity for the past half a year or so, I've been on this pretty big retro gaming kick thing. Technically speaking, it started back in April of 2023 of last year, because I was like, oh, I want to get Luigi's Mansion, and I got that for the GameCube, and from there I'm just like, what if I want to get all the GameCube games that I either owned or played before, and the ones that I haven't played, because there's a bunch of GameCube games I've never played that I want to play. And I was like, all right, let me build a GameCube backlog. And that was like 40 games or so, and then I built it up to 50 in April of this year, because a couple things happened in April. So my friend Harley, who lives all the way out in California, actually ended up going to Easley, South Carolina, in order to visit his parents. And I decided to do like a little vacation trip where I go and hang out with Harley for like half a day or so, and then the next day I go to a tournament in Atlanta, Georgia, and just because it would only be like a 2-hour drive for me at that point, and thought, why not? And then I could also stay at a friend of mine whose tag is Ziff, spelled XIF, just so that everyone who's not familiar with Melee knows. I ended up staying at his place for the first time, and I was completely by myself. And what was cool about that was he has he's been around for like a long time in the Melee community, like I think since 2002, like super old head, multiple decades been around, and continues to be around, and continues to be an awesome person in the community. And being at his place was cool because he has a whole bunch of like SNES games and N64 games and PS2 games. He has a bunch of CRTs all around. He hosts like fighting game nights and stuff at his place, or even just casual stuff. He's got a lot of really cool stuff over at his place, and seeing his collection of retro games that he has really kind of like lit a light bulb in my mind about what I wanted to do more with the whole retro gaming thing. It expanded from just being about GameCube, because I was purely going through GameCube games as I was buying them and playing them periodically. But then after visiting Ziff's place and just chatting about stuff, about retro games and the collection that he was building, because like he has a lot of like really nice SNES titles and N64 titles and the like. It just inspired me to expand on this backlog from just GameCube games to now encompassing Game Boy Advance and SNES and Super Nintendo titles. And I made it to 100 games because I wanted a nice like even number, so like 100 felt good. And I was already at like 40 GameCube games, so adding 10 more to make it 50 to do half of that would be pretty easy. And then 25 Game Boy Advance and 25 Super Nintendo titles to make 100, a pretty good even number. And I even started making an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of all that. And that's kind of where the whole thing really kicked into gear, of me wanting to play through these retro games and keep track of like finish through them to get to like the credits or whatever, and then give like a rating, like actually review it on Twitter based on like a whole point system. Because there's even a game rating Excel spreadsheet that I have been working on to tally up my scores basically of all the games that I could remember that I have played, and giving it a score, and then refining the scores as I thought more about the game, and et cetera, et cetera. Like it was a whole thing I was doing for like several months this year, just getting those things organized, just working on these Excel spreadsheets, because I love doing that kind of stuff. It's nerdy, but it's fun. But eventually, so like it started with me going through SNES titles, starting with the very first launch title on the SNES, Super Mario World, and pretty much going in release order based on the earliest possible release date. So if it like released first in Japan, I go by that release date compared to something that might have released first in North America. Just whatever, no matter where it was released in the world, if it was the date I'd pick is the date that the game was first released anywhere, you know, not just North America and stuff like that, because I just wanted to kind of keep it simple. There are some exceptions to this in the list that I have, but for the most part, it follows that kind of general rule. So, in going through the SNES games, since that's, you know, first up, those are the ones from the early 90s. One of the games that I ended up playing, Final Fantasy IV, I actually ended up enjoying so much to the point where it made me want to play all the other Final Fantasies, not just the SNES era ones. So, like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and 10, which are, you know, not on Nintendo consoles. They're on PlayStation. So I had to think, I need to expand. I need to expand this list so that I can include PlayStation titles. So to make a long story short, I ended up bumping the total number of games from 100 to 200. So now it has PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, handful of Nintendo DS games, Nintendo 64, few Dreamcast, and even original Xbox is on there as well. So, and I've pretty much been working very steadily on this backlog spreadsheet of sorts throughout pretty much most of the year, and I haven't like I even like the last time I edited it or like to change some games was like a few weeks ago, not that long ago at all. But it's been really fun, even with what I've just done so far this year, playing through the games, getting to experience what they offer, even as just casual experiences, and then getting to look to see like, oh, I don't know how the speed run goes or other interesting content about said game that I played through. I was getting really into it, and it's been really fun, and I want to continue doing it. So that's kind of the major shift of hobbies that I have come to know throughout this year, especially, you know, going pretty much from doing the whole melee and competitive thing to just doing fully investing pretty much in the retro gaming sphere of things. Do not try to complete Final Fantasy 9 and 14. Oh no, wait, 11. Well, yeah, I mean, yes, they're actually, you know what? I can talk real quick about Final Fantasy 14 because I actually put a lot of time into that game this year. I finished Shadowbringers like in April or something, and I ended up actually liking it, even though it took me like a year and a half to finish Shadowbringers because I was going super duper slowly through it. And then I like sort of like speed ran going through Endwalker so that I could be done with that in time for Dawn Trail. Yeah, I liked Shadowbringers a lot. I thought Endwalker was okay, or pretty solid, like pretty decent. I didn't like it as much as some of the main story. I didn't like as much as some of the other expansions, but the stuff I really did like about Endwalker was all the tie-ins with Final Fantasy IV, especially considering I was playing through Final Fantasy IV at the same time that I was playing Endwalker. I was really Final Fantasied up in like May of this year, and that was really fun. That was really cool, especially when I got to like the patch content in Endwalker after all the like main story stuff. That was just like, especially like after finishing Final Fantasy IV like a few weeks prior. That was amazing. That was probably one of the gaming highlights of the year for me, was just all that like post Endwalker content stuff. I was like on a mental high doing all that. That was super, super fun. But yeah, then Dawn Trail happened, and like I think I got through like halfway or so through the main scenario and just got bored with it. Like, I don't know. It just didn't appeal to me as much as the other expansions that I've done, especially because it's a brand new thing completely unrelated to any of the story that's been done before. And it's like I was on board for it for a bit, but then after a while, I just got pretty darn tired of it. And I haven't touched the game since middle of August. That's when my subscription ran out or whatever. I don't know when I'll go back. I would imagine when another expansion's announced or something, maybe. But like, who knows? I wasn't ever really in it to play it as an actual MMO. I only cared about the story. Like really. I only ever did MSQs and whatever dungeons and raids and stuff that I needed to do just to progress. Did not care about loot or any of that stuff. I just wanted to experience the story, and I'm glad I did, because it was a good one. But I don't need to do much more with that. So that's my little spiel on Final Fantasy XIV, since I did put a good number of hours into that game this year. But yeah, the whole retro gaming backlog of sorts, it got me like really thinking, because I have this really big behind me. I have this really big Panasonic 32, I think it's 27 inches. I actually haven't recently measured it, but it's a very big CRT television. I think it's a 32. It says 32 in the model name, so I assume it's a 32-inch screen or something. It's pretty big. But I wanted really to try to play as many of these games on original hardware, or at least not at first. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Originally, I wanted to only play through... I wanted to get all the GameCube games I wanted, complete in box. I wanted the original hardware of all the GameCube games, but for SNES, when looking at the prices at first, especially for complete in box stuff, I'm like, whoa, a lot of this stuff is like way more expensive than average compared to... let me sit down here. Oh, I'm going to put this... There we go. Ooh. Surely. Okay. Is that tilted? I don't know. It's a little tilted. Untilt. There we go. Anyway, so lost my train of thought for a second. Of course. Just give me a second. Oh yeah, original hardware and stuff. So yeah, I was looking at like SNES prices for like the original game and stuff, and I was deciding that the average is a bit high. So I'm like, I'm just gonna emulate the games, all the SNES games, but play like GameCube and PS1 and PS2 and stuff on original hardware. Because I was just kind of convinced that was more of what I wanted to do at the time. But then as time has gone on, I've kind of realized that more and more I really want to actually just play all the games on the backlog on original hardware as much as possible. So even SNES games, I know every single game that I want to get, I'm going to get a cartridge for, except for like one that's really, really unbelievably expensive that I'll get a reproduction cart for. Well, actually, a couple. There's another game that like only released in Japan, so I'll need an English cart for that one. But for the most part, I'm trying to, as much as possible, get actual original cartridges of SNES games. And then as far as getting a complete in box, it depends on the game. It depends on the like circumstance of what it offers and all that. So, or like how much it is, because there are some outliers, but there's a lot that surprisingly, if you get the complete in box, it's actually like less than $100, and that kind of surprised me for some games, especially some that I like really, really enjoy. So I've been kind of more privy to the idea of getting original hardware and original like everything, like original controllers, because I was, for my emulated experiences playing through the SNES games that I played through so far this year, I wanted to have like the third party GameCube-esque kind of controllers that you can use as like SNES controllers. Like you can technically use those as like Game Boy Player controllers, but when I get to Game Boy Player, I'm eventually going to just actually have a link cable for a normal Game Boy Advance when I get to that point, but that won't be for a while. But point is, I'm trying to use as much original hardware as possible, playing everything on CRTs and PVMs and the like. And I kept thinking to myself, especially in, what is it? Oh, there is an ad break in progress. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'll get the hang of this stuff at some point. But like, so it's really hard for me to not get distracted by something and lose my train of thought when I'm trying to like talk about something, whatever. But yeah, like trying to play through these games like on original hardware, especially right after I turned 30, I was thinking to myself, if I really do, because I was thinking to myself, I kind of, with me playing on this big Panasonic behind me, I was kept thinking to myself, it'd be kind of nice to stream this or even just record it locally, but with the logistics of, where this TV is in my apartment compared to where my PC is, it doesn't really work out very well. I'd have to use like a laptop. I'd have to use my backup laptop. That's a whole other thing that happened this year that isn't really worth the time getting into. But I'd have to use a separate laptop pretty much to do it. And at that point, it doesn't feel very right. Like I like the space behind me. I like this space over here with the Panasonic and my speakers and all that is kind of like this zen space without it really being connected to the internet and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to keep it that way, but I couldn't help but think, if I did want to get like a small enough CRT or PVM to be able to actually put on like my pull-out desk, I wonder how big I could get it. I wonder if I could actually get an actual streaming setup, and I wonder how much it would cost. Like, would it cost like a lot? Would it cost not too much? Would I be able to like pretty comfortably be able to work towards it? And then just, went on a whole thing of researching which capture devices I wanted to get, which CRTs I was thinking about getting, measuring things out, and then here I am now with like 3 PVMs with a 4th one potentially coming on the way. As of right now, it's not been shipped yet, but hopefully in the next week or so. But I have 3 different sizes of CRTs because I wanted to see which one I liked best, essentially. That's kind of mostly what it boiled down to, and which ones fit. They technically all fit on the desk space, but they all do something like different. And the one in the middle, the 13-inch one, ends up being the one I like the most. So that's the one I'm going to be using for the most part to play. But like, so kind of going into some of my plans for 2025 is I am going to be a lot more active. And I mean a lot more active as far as streaming goes. This year, I feel like I've had so many times where I've tried to stream, especially moments where I wanted to stream multiple, like even just like a week of something. And I do like one stream and then like don't stream for 2 months or something. And then I come back and there's some completely new random thing that I decide to want to do. And then that's that, it would just be one stream every like 2 months. And I wasn't doing it intentionally. The motivation wasn't there. I wasn't feeling like I could get myself to stream because there was some sort of significant disconnect with it all. So it was hard to get myself to do it. But I think with me investing in all this equipment and how cool it is to try to play on all this original hardware and experience these games, I want to share it. I want to share the experiences as much as possible. I don't even like care about being backseated. Like if I really, really get bugged by it, then I can like put it in my title or whatever and let people know. But for the most part, it's like I'd rather just have people in the stream just interact and see how I'm doing and see where I'm at in my like retro gaming adventures. Like part of me just has this really significant desire to share this sort of experience of playing through these retro games with other people. That's kind of the big motivation for why I want to stream more lately. Like I've had a lot of other plans, like I've said, throughout the year where I had an idea and then I could only execute it enough to do one stream that sometimes even ends up being pretty short and it feels like it falls flat. But definitely going into the new year, I really, really wanted to be a lot more on top of streaming because I see like especially the streamers that I've been watching regularly throughout this year, I give them a lot of props for being able to have very consistent streaming schedules and streaming constantly all the time and never getting burnt down. It's like, that's crazy to me. Like I want to work on that. I want to be a lot more consistent and have that ability to do those things that I want to do, because I think that's important. I think that's something I'm not really even trying to build a community, because that's not really the important thing to me. I really just kind of want to, again, I just want to share my experiences. I want to put them out there, maybe make like, I even had like an idea of like actually making some sort of like reviews, like video reviews of these games, because I think they would be I think they'd be pretty cool in that regard, honestly. I don't want to put like a crap ton of effort, because then the focus would be more about the video editing than the actual playthroughs of the games themselves. So I think a stream would be pretty darn good for that kind of thing. So in thinking about how I want to go through all this, because like one of the things that came to mind as I was playing through the SNES games originally, I just wanted to finish them. I didn't, like, as soon as I was finished with the game, I moved on to the next one pretty much whenever I felt like it, or watched through videos or whatever on the game. I didn't actually want to like replay anything, even though I had like some ideas for things I like kind of wanted to do. Like for Super Mario World, for example, once I finished the game for the first time, I thought, it'd be kind of nice to try to find all 96 exits. Just do a run where I get all 96 exits myself, sort of 100% it, if you will. And that kind of like extra extension goal or so kept kind of coming up over and over with the titles that I was playing through, and I kept thinking, I do want to eventually come back around and play these. So once I got through the first like 10 SNES games, I was thinking, all right, I'm gonna stream me playing through these again in these like short kind of bursty streams and try to see as much, if I can get through as much as possible in like 3 streams or something like that. And that plan unfortunately ended up falling through due to me getting either distracted or losing motivation or wanting to do other things or the like, and it ended up just kind of unfortunately falling apart. So that was a little bit of a letdown, but I have devised a different plan for how to do it. From next year and beyond, essentially. So what I calculated recently, I guess within the last month or so, since I did recently turn 30 and I, I'm moving past Melee and the like, and I want to do something different for like, I guess my 30s or this decade or so, I calculated that since I have 200 games in my retro gaming backlog, if I were to play each one for approximately, well, actually not even really approximately, almost exactly 18 days for each game, then Starting on January 1st, 2025, so in 2 days from now, if I played each game for 18 days, I would finish on game number 200 8 days before I turned 40. And it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. Now, am I actually going to see through it all the way to the end for this whole decade thing? Hell if I know. I got to first see if I can get past the first year. I'd like to. Shit. It's 20 games in one single year. But I mean, I think 18 days is a pretty good amount of time. And it also, helps keep me accountable in a way, because once I go past a game, I don't go back to it. I try to do as much as I possibly can in that 18-day period of time. And obviously I won't be streaming all 18 days because that would burn me out. But I kept thinking, because I was going very, very slowly through this backlog, just trying to get through the games on my list, and even just trying to play for 30 minutes each day was sometimes felt like a hassle when I wasn't streaming it or anything like that. And a whole month would go by and I hadn't finished a game, or I'm halfway through it, and it's like, dude, if I keep this rate up for pretty much most of the games in this backlog, it's never going to get finished. I'm never going to get through this whole thing. So I need to devise a plan to get through everything, because I do want to get through everything. It is a finite backlog. It is not something that will continue being expanded upon. I've pretty much settled on the 200 games. The chances of anything being changed is very, very small. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's quite tiny for anything to be changed. So it's quite static. And I think that's the important thing to keep in mind when you have an actual backlog of games you want to play. You need to have a cutoff. If you don't give yourself a cutoff, it will constantly grow and get bigger and bigger, and it will become this unattainable to complete beast that becomes not fun, and it becomes a chore, and you don't want that. I don't want that. So that's why I'm trying to make it focus specifically around 200, because anything more than 200 it starts to get crazy, and I don't want to do that. So yeah. As far as the scheduling goes for these streams, I have come up with a pretty consistent schedule that I would like to abide by, where days that I am working, I'd like to start stream around 6 p.m. Eastern and go for anywhere between 2.5 to 5 hours, depending on how I feel or whatever that day. But at bare minimum, 2.5 hours, and up to 5, because I don't want to go for too darn long. But on weekdays or days that I'm working, essentially go from 6, start the stream at 6 or as close to 6 p.m. as possible. Even today, I wanted to start at 6, but there's a bunch of stream stuff that I wanted to take care of first before I actually started. So I started an hour late, but that's fine because I hadn't streamed before this for a long while anyway. But anyway, yeah. So start on days that I work, start stream at 6. And then on days where I don't work, try to start stream as close to 1 p.m. as possible. Because I'd like to... The earlier in the day that I can do the stream, the better, because I do kind of like having them earlier on the day. So I feel like the night is kind of more open. But also, streaming that early means I can have friends of mine in the EU be able to watch me a lot more easily than having to stay up really late or something to catch my stream. Or, maybe they want to watch... in their evening, but not 2 a.m. or something. So it'd be nice for people in the EU and people in the US obviously can still watch it just fine, it being at 1 p.m. or whatever. Some people stream even earlier than that. That's still kind of crazy to me, but I want to try to do that. And I want to try to do it at least 4 times a week. So I thought, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday are good. So Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday are dedicated break days where I can just do whatever else work on things outside of streaming, or take a leisurely stroll, or just do something else. But basically having these breaks would be good. And I guess, of course, if there's like a day, I don't know, I really want to be a lot more disciplined about actually just sitting down at my start time and just starting the stream and just going from there, because a lot of what stops me, and I imagine a lot of other friends of mine and streamers that I know struggle with this, where they struggle with just starting. They struggle with just hitting the go live button and actually starting their stream and getting things going. And that's hard. That's hard for a lot of people. It's especially hard for me. And I really, really want to work on that. Like, no matter how not great I might be feeling on a particular day, I can almost guarantee you almost every time that I do stream, I feel somewhat better. Pretty much almost every time I do feel better, especially when I have at least someone in the chat interacting with me. And I know I might not get that every time, but I care, again, about the experiences being recorded, even in VODs and stuff like that. So even if I don't get much chat interaction, that's okay. It's not the most important thing. It's a very, very nice thing to have. Don't get me wrong. I love that stuff. I love getting that for sure. But it's not like a requirement. If you want to just lurk, if you want to just watch and not say anything, like, you're more than welcome to do so. I won't hold it against you or anything like that. I personally really want to be very consistent with the actual streaming. So that's essentially the plan. I'm trying to stream for all this time. Every 18 days I like change games or whatever, but I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and hell, I might even play the games off stream sometimes. And so I will, like, if I'm doing like playthroughs, I might continue it off stream and then continue it more on stream. That might happen. I'm not 100% sure how I'll do it, but that's kind of the general idea for it. So yeah, that's like the major thing I'm trying to do next year and the years beyond is I want to stream these games and really try to get as much as I can possibly out of them. Some games in an 18-day period of time, I know I might barely be even able to just finish them because they're so long as casual playthroughs. So, I don't have much time left over. But for the many games where I will have plenty of time left over, I want to like kind of invest in speedrunning them in a bit. Not like, oh, I want to try to get like a really good time in like a short period of time, because that's a little bit unrealistic. But what I do want to do is I want to do like casual speed runs. I want to try to play through the game knowing what I know as quickly as possible, and then maybe like slowly trying to actually incorporate real, speedrun strategies and trying to like lower my time, but I would have like splits consistently and stuff like that. Like, I'd like to basically speedrun every game that I play or I come across, or as many as I can, and maybe even do a couple of categories. I don't know. I kind of want to treat it as like this fun, casual kind of experience, and not really too much focused on like, oh, I want to get better at the game, because, you could spend a whole year on one game and be like a pretty decent runner. And it's like, but I want to experience a whole bunch of things. So I don't know. I think 18 days gives me a lot of time to be able to actually do that. So give me a quick second. I need to get some water. Oh, I'm thirsty. Because with me talking so freaking much, I'm gonna be parched, and my throat will start hurting because, last time I did one of these that ended up being over 5 hours long, my throat was dying. So I do not plan on doing it nearly that long this time. All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate that. All right. So, let's see. Um. So yeah, the whole retro game streaming thing, and of course going to conventions. I do want to mention a very big catalyst to this whole retro gaming thing is that I started going to this gaming convention organization called Raleigh Retro Gamers, because they have a convention every month to 2 months or so, where there's a whole bunch of vendors that sell like retro games and things. And so it really kind of got me into the whole retro gaming market, seeing how that works. That's like a whole other rabbit hole to get into about how the marketing and how that secondhand market stuff works, that my friend Chris is like extremely into, which I think is really awesome. But I'm kind of more just interested in the collecting and actually playing the game side of it. So yeah, I'm gonna be starting it in 2 days. I'm gonna be starting with Super Mario World, and yeah, that will be pretty darn fun. Also in 2025, I like pretty much immediately, like a week into the year, I'm going to be going to AGDQ, or Awesome Games Done Quick. It'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that'll be a lot of fun because I have wanted to go to a GDQ for years now, for like quite a long time. And now that I'm finally getting to go to one, especially now that I'm getting more and more into speedrunning communities, it feels even more like a pretty good time. Because like I didn't really get into like any particular speedrunning communities until July of last year, when I finished Super Metroid for the first time and was just completely blown away by how freaking awesome the game is. So I started watching a lot of people that speedrun that game and getting really involved with just watching the streams and understanding how Super Metroid as a game like functions, and getting really attuned with like each route as I was watching, and I was having a lot of fun with it. And I've been pretty heavily watching Super Metroid stuff, but in the last like month and a half or so, I've been getting a lot more like talkative and active and actually like interacting with the people in the community. And especially when I have like questions about like streaming and what equipment I should get and audio stuff, like I've been getting a lot of help there, and that's been super awesome. So I definitely like big props to like the people in the Super Metroid community, because they've been super welcoming and awesome in that regard. And I look forward to hanging out with some of them and meeting some of them at AGDQ, because I think that'd be really cool to get a bit acclimated with them in that way. I do have plans to go to an SGDQ at some point, probably like 2026 or so, but that's not going to happen for a while. But I am looking very forward to AGDQ very shortly. Like it's literally, I'm like, my plane leaves in 9 days. Like it's very close. It's very, very close, and I think it'll be pretty fun. So that is a trip I'm looking very forward to next year. And then like I kind of want to do a trip to visit a couple friends of mine down in Florida sometime, maybe in the summer. But then again, like, I mean, I can deal with the heat of Florida in the summer because, I wouldn't be outside all the time. Like, I don't know, like, because, there's air conditioning and stuff down there. So I would be fine as long as I'm indoors and all that. So yeah, I could do something in like June or maybe July down in Florida. Like I've thought about, like I kind of share the idea of doing that with the friends of mine that live down in Florida, to see how they feel about it, and they're up for it. So it's like cool. I just have to figure out the logistics and the flights and stuff, and when the time comes, I would want it to not be too expensive, considering one of the big trips I really, really want to take next year. I want to go to Germany, and that mostly is due to one German VTuber that I have been watching pretty much the entirety of this year. Literally found her back in January playing Twilight Princess Randomizer, and I have just been hooked watching her and enjoying her ever since, pretty much. I'm talking about the streamer Radish Ruby, because she's just been super awesome. She's been super down to earth and welcoming, and watching her streams has always been like a blast. And I don't know. And the one thing that has really stuck out, because she only streams in English like once a week, and most of the time she streams 3 times a week, and the other 2 are in German. And just after just not understanding German for a while, I decided, you know what, maybe I should try to like learn some of the language so that I can at least start recognizing some words and phrases to get more acclimated with the language, so that even if I don't have any plans to speak it, I can at least like pick it up here and there and be like, oh, I actually know what you were saying, because speaking it is a whole different thing. Listening to it is really hard, but like reading it and typing it is like somewhat doable. And I mean, after doing it since like the middle of August, I've been pretty somewhat consistent with it. I would like to think it's been pretty good. I've been actually enjoying learning German, and I think also it'd just be really cool to travel to Germany to actually visit this VTuber and get to see the area and experience Germany, because I know it's a beautiful country, and I like to see it for what it is. So I have like plans to do that. They're not set in stone. I haven't like put any money towards anything. I don't even have my passport yet, so that's something I'd have to get figured out. But I really would like to. There's a bunch. Honestly, there's a bunch of friends and people I want to visit in Europe, in various places in Europe. Like I want to go to Sweden. I want to go to Belgium. I want to go to Netherlands. Like bunch of places for sure. Because there's just a bunch of friends of mine. I think even in the UK there's like a friend or two, but I can't visit them all. Like even just trying to like, I was even thinking like, do you think I could do Sweden and Germany in one trip? Maybe, but I feel like the time would be really tight as far as doing both, and it would probably cost a lot, and there's a lot of logistics to work out and stuff like that. Like the logistics are the biggest thing I gotta figure out at some point, but it is something that I'm planning for, that I would like to do next year as like a big kind of trip, to go out into Europe. And that's pretty significant for me because at the very, very beginning of this year, like literally on January 2nd, my great aunt passed away. And I remember at Thanksgiving of last year, we were just talking about like traveling. She was insisting like, you need to travel the world and you need to see more of what the world, or I'd like for you to see more of what the world has to offer. And I even like told her I'm planning on visiting Sweden. I would like to visit that next year. And she's like, yeah, go visit Sweden. Like that would be awesome. So, and then she passed away like a little over a month later. And that's like one thing that like really still sticks with me about her, is that she really wanted me to travel to see the world. So I still want to travel to Europe to do that. I want to, like, Germany's kind of like the first one I'm thinking the most about. And then like Sweden's like pretty up there too. And yeah, just like there's a bunch of things I want to do, but I can only plan so much at a time and not like, break the bank or something like that. But yeah, it's something I really would like to do. Hopefully in September or so, but we'll see. I'm not quite there yet. I mean, I still got to get through the AGDQ trip first before I really start planning things, because I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But that is, as far as traveling goes, that's kind of like the 3 things I am thinking about. Or like, well, obviously AGDQ is right around the corner, so that's happening. That's been happening for a while now. But the other 2 are like very much kind of wanting them to actually happen, So yeah, those that'll be fun. I think I got, and that's kind of the two major things, like the whole streaming retro games, traveling to these particular places. That's the major stuff that I've got going, or I'm, wanted to kind of talk about for next year, that I'm excited for, because I think it's going to be really, really cool. I think it'll be a great like start to my 30s in this whole retro gaming adventure. And who knows, I might find through this journey of playing through this, 200 game backlog or so, that there's a one game that like sticks out to me more than anything else. Like, Super Metroid's been at the very top of my games rating spreadsheet for like a while now, pretty much since I finished it and gave a review for it last year. But like, who knows? Something could very well dethrone it. Like, I know earlier this year when I played Ori and the Will of the Wisps, that got pretty damn close. That's number 2, so it didn't beat Super Metroid, but man, did it get freaking close to being up there. I really, really enjoyed that game, and I'm glad I streamed the entirety of that at least. Like, of all the things that I didn't stream this year, I am glad that I did stream me playing through both of the Ori games. That's good. I'm glad I did that at least. So some benefits, some good things, some good silver linings happening this year that I am very happy about, and they're just developments for the future. But yeah, I don't really think I have too much else I want to like talk about here. I guess you might be wondering, why did I decide to stream in VR chat? Well, I haven't done one of these like reflectory streams in VR chat in like what, 3 years? Over 3 years? It's been a long time. And I've been playing VR chat for over 4 years now at this point. So I don't know. I play this game a lot. I don't really do streams in VR chat, and hell, I don't even know when when I'll stream VR chat again. But I did kind of miss doing these videos where I at least reflect on how a past year went and how like experiences went on things and what I want to do for the future and stuff like that. Because I think, it's kind of nice to have like this memento of a video, even if I'm like going off the cusp and I'm streaming it and there's probably going to be scuff and stuff, and I'm not going to edit anything, so I don't want to do that. I just want to post this on YouTube pretty much as soon as this is done. Because I don't want to have it be posted like months later and then half the stuff I talked about isn't even relevant anymore or whatever. So yeah, try to get stuff out quickly, but while also sending the message that I want to send, so yeah. And I do I do want to do a bunch. That's a lot of do's, good lord. I really would like to do the reviews of these games, as I, not just from a casual perspective, but like a learning the speedrun perspective too. Like, I kind of want to go a bit into detail, but I also don't want the videos to be too long. I don't want them to go past like 15 minutes is like the max, really. I don't want them to be like 30-minute long video essays where I just am on a whole spiel or whatever. Like, I kind of want them to be quick. I don't want them to be like a minute long or 5 minutes, maybe, kind of like IGN review length, maybe. But some games are going to be very hard to condense into a small period of time, and I'm going to want to gush over them. And I just might have to like do a supercut or something. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't want to spend a ton of time trying to edit things together. And I mean, I'll have like footage for it that I could probably put in like the background and stuff while I'm talking, but I'm not going to make it like a super heavily edited video essay of sorts, because I just don't really want to do that badly. Like, maybe I would want to keep it short project, like very tangible, very doable in a short period of time project, not like something that literally will take me months to do. I'm not trying to do that. But yeah, that's the major things that I would like to do for next year, especially around streaming and the stuff that I've done this year that have kind of like led me in this direction. And I think it'll be cool, and I think it'll definitely be very exciting. Like especially this coming year, because I know with some of the SNES games that I played earlier this year, some of them weren't really that fun. There's like 4 SNES titles that I played that I kind of didn't have a lot of fun with, so I've actually replaced all of them with different titles that I'm interested in trying for the first time through. So I'm excited about those for sure, because I got a good feeling about them. But I mean, there will be no doubt in my mind that if I stream all this stuff consistently, and I stick to a pretty consistent schedule and I play through it, that I'm going to have a pretty solid knowledge base about each game that I play through, probably well beyond just casual playthroughs. Because I mean, I think the average like completion time for these games will probably be like 10 or so hours. Obviously, the RPGs will be a lot more, but there's going to be a lot of games where I'm going to be able to finish in probably a single stream. and then it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll try to like learn how to speedrun it, after the fact. But I think it'll be fun. I think I'll enjoy getting through it. Having a consistent stream schedule, try to I was even looking at the Twitch dashboard thing, the like stream manager and all this crazy stuff that I could like change and get working and all that. And it's like, oh my God, this is so much. There's so many things I could do to like customize my stream. And I kind of want to keep it simple, but who knows? It might really evolve over the next year. But like, that's the really big thing that I want to do for 2025 is I really, really want to be focused on the stream. I really want to be getting through this retro gaming backlog thing, and I want to see it through all the way to the end of the year. And of course, when I go on vacation, when I do the actual traveling, I won't be able to stream during those times, and that's fine. I want to try to get through the whole year, see how I feel about it, and then go from there for maybe 2026. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I am kind of surprised I only felt like I needed to talk for like an hour. I didn't even need to talk that long. Usually I'm able to go for much longer than this, or I have way more things to say, but it's like, no, I kind of have gone in as much detail as I wanted to, unless, people wanted me to go into more detail about something in particular, which, well, I mean, this is initially a live stream, but like this will just be uploaded to YouTube later. So maybe if you want to comment what you want to ask or see below or something, then sure. Oh yeah, I was thinking about potentially multi-streaming to both Twitch and YouTube at some point, but I kind of want to just do Twitch for the meantime. And seeing where it goes from there. If I feel like it's going in a really good direction and I really do want to do YouTube, or if I feel like I'm putting out somewhat consistent content on YouTube, then maybe I'll try to stream there as well at the same time, but we'll see. I mean, I'll probably go down some funny rabbit hole of some technicality things I'll figure out and get really into the weeds of it and have fun with it. Because like I know whenever I do that, especially with all this like CRT hunting and learning more about CRTs and PVMs and the capture equipment and all this stuff, I've been learning a lot of really cool stuff, and it's been super fun and engaging for me. I've been really, really liking it all, and I can tell that I'm going to continue really liking it as I do more and more of it. Like, I don't have any doubts in my mind about this might not work out in the long term sort of thing. Like there might be some like bumps here and there, almost certainly, when it comes to like short moments in time. But I think in the long run, this will be a pretty fun thing to do. So yeah, that's just purely me talking about stream stuff, and gaming and my hobbies. And I didn't even freaking talk about my music. I'm still collecting vinyls and I'm still listening to lots of music on a constant basis. I have thought about maybe, talking about like my favorite albums that I've listened to in the last several years and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just kind of wanted the focus to be about, the major things from this year and going into next year, really. So personally find multi-stream confusing because of the separate chats. See, that was a concern of mine as well at first, but I've been seeing that there's like some sort of plugins or extensions for like chats being displayed where you're actually able to view both chats at the same time, and it's actually pretty cool. Like there's one streamer that I watch right now, or very very regularly right now, who streams Super Metroid. His name is Shiny Zenny, and he streams on both Twitch and YouTube, and both the YouTube and Twitch chat shows up on his stream at the same time, so I can see what people on YouTube are saying, and that's pretty cool. So if I do end up multi-streaming there, I would definitely want that kind of plugin, or whatever it is, in order to get both of them showing like that at the same time, because I would want to interact with the people on YouTube just as equally. So, but that's something I'll figure out later. Again, if I really want to do that, which who knows, I might not, but we'll see. I don't really see. There's definitely no harm. Like, we're past the point. Thankfully, Twitch has like made it where you are no longer exclusively stuck on only being able to stream on Twitch. You are now allowed to multi-stream to whatever other platform you want at the same time. You can even do like TikTok or Twitter or whatever else you want too, if you really wanted. I think Twitch removed that restriction earlier this year, in fact. I don't remember exactly, but it definitely felt like it was pretty recent to where it probably was this year. If not this year, it was last year, because that's how recent I'm pretty sure it was. So yeah, I think even the streams are going to improve a bunch as well, because honestly, one thing I've not paid any attention to in the past is like ads, because I imagine a lot of people who watch my stream aren't subscribed and the like, and they I don't like pre-rolls, and no one likes pre-roll ads, and I want to make sure that no one ever has to deal with that stuff. So, but I've never manually ran ads when I go like use the restroom and stuff. So I want to kind of get into the habit of doing it, because when I like need to go take a short break or something, I want to be like, oh, I can play a 3-minute ad, so that once the ads are done, I can just continue doing my thing, and no one gets ads for the next hour or so, and no one gets pre-roll ads, and that's like a big deal, because people, especially I think like last year or so, like the ads were getting like really really bad, and people were really wanting them to go away, and it's like they're not going to go away, but you can manage them a lot better, and I just wasn't utilizing those tools at all previously as a streamer. So I'm going to try to do a lot better in actually utilizing those tools and doing them at the appropriate times and stuff like that. So, because I want it to be as smooth of a viewing experience as possible. So yeah.